大家好，欢迎来到致富视野，开启您的视野，富足您的人生。今天给大家带来的主题是兼具女性营养学家、间歇性断食倡议者、专业护理人员、畅销作家，4种身份的 Cynthia Thurlow 女士，4年前受 TED 邀请，发表女性更年期照护相关演说。因为当初原片没有中文字幕，所以本片加上中文字幕，以利华语系观众观赏。另一个制作功能医学系列的原因，起因于本人去年9月一次体检，得知糖化血色素高达 8.7， 被告知得了糖尿病，需采取适配治疗。因为先前已对功能医学稍有认识，当下决定先采用不吃药的做法，从生活形态及膳食改善着手，搭配适量运动及营养补给品。半年后顺利减重15公斤，再次检查，同一数据已降至 5.9， 其他血脂相关数据皆恢复正常。深感功能医学功效强大，故加以推广。影片开播前告知，本人不是专业医疗人员，如有身体不适的情形，恳请尽速寻求专业医疗协助。
I've taken care of thousands of patients, but nothing prepared me for my own illness 3 years ago. You see, I'd always been that person that bounded out of bed at ungodly hours to go exercise and liked it. I would round on my patients in the hospital and the office. I would take care of my beautiful children. And I truly, truly live a charmed life. What I did not know or realize was that over time, the stress of my job, my exercise, my diet was slowly eroding my health. Until one day I was so tired, I couldn't get out of bed. And my clinician side of my brain clicked in and thought, I'm not depressed. What could be going on? I was so tired that I didn't have enough energy to take care of not only myself, but my family, my own patients. I gained weight. I had crazy food cravings, and anyone that knows me knows that I love to eat healthy, and suddenly I was craving chocolate like it was my job. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. I didn't appreciate sleep enough until I didn't have it. I was bloated. I had no libido. All the things that you don't want to have happen. And I was completely stunned because I thought, I'm doing everything right. What am I doing wrong? What is my body trying to tell me? What am I not listening to? And part of this TEDx is showing up. And so part of me showing up is talking about something I find embarrassing and awkward. And let's be honest. No one wants to talk about forbidden topics. But I'm going to talk about menopause. Every woman in this room, if they've either gotten there or they're approaching it or it's 20 years down the road, it's all something that's such a forbidden topic. I want you to think about something. Menopause is when a woman can no longer conceive a child naturally. We have technology nowadays that can sometimes make that happen. And you no longer get your periods. But prior to that, there are 5 to 7 years, sometimes 10, where a woman is going through perimenopause, a word I had never heard of before. And I trained at a big research institution in the States. Never heard of it. Never had a conversation with my OBGYN, my midwife, no one, until I went through this whole process. So I want you to think about the fact that women go through this process and they come out on the other side, but there's so little information. There was actually this past week in a big US publication newspaper, they were talking about second puberty. And they were talking about how there's such little information about this time in a woman's life and people don't feel comfortable talking about it. So let's get back to that story I was telling you about. I went from being fit and buff to suddenly being bloated, tired, and grumpy, with no seemingly end to what was going on with my body. So let's talk a little bit about some statistics. It's important to define what's going on. We know the American Congress of OBGYNs estimates that 6,000 women a day, that's a startling amount, 6,000 a day go into menopause. It's over 2 million a year, and yet we don't talk about it. And women can begin this process of perimenopause in their late 30s. And if you're in your 40s, you're already there. So when you think about looking back in 1900, the average life expectancy for a woman was 47 years old. Do you want to know why that statistic, when I read it, pained me? Because I'm 47 years old. And back in 1900, that would have been the end of the line, probably. In 2018, it's 84 years old. So what does that mean? That means that 40% of a woman's life, if she lives long enough, will be in menopause. 40% of her life. Conventional wisdom suggests this is the end. I'm here to tell you it's just the beginning. Over 20 years of working as a nurse and a nurse practitioner, I heard countless examples of women expressing concerns that weren't being readily addressed or being addressed with antidepressants, sleeping pills, or suggestions of therapy. And I'm not suggesting that maybe there are a few of those who might have needed a few of those things. However, what I want everyone to understand is that we're missing opportunities with women. We're missing opportunities to address these times, to talk about these things, so that people have the tools to be able to look forward to this point in their lives and not look at it as they're dreading it's the end of the earth. You probably have had conversations or you've spoken with people where they think, oh gosh, this is the end of the line. I don't believe, and nor do I subscribe to limiting beliefs of any kind. Now, I'm going to let you in on all the tricks of the trade of how you can navigate this time in your life proactively as opposed to reactively. You know, I'm Western medicine trained. We deal with symptoms. I'm functional trained, which means we look for root cause. So I'm going to let you in on all my secrets, the things that I recommend, that I talk to women about every single day, so that you can live the best life possible. I always start with food. I love to talk about food. Who doesn't? Let's talk about food. Does anyone have any idea where digestion starts in your body? It doesn't matter if I ask a 5-year-old, if I'm lecturing to a group of elementary school age kids, or an adult. No one ever guesses it, but think about it. Digestion starts in our brains. If our brains are not actively engaged in the process of accepting food, we're never going to digest it properly. And this is when women really start to struggle with digestion. So think about it this way. How many of us stand when we're eating? We eat in our cars. We eat while we're working. We eat while we're yelling at our spouse, our kids, our parents, whomever. I mean, we're all guilty, right? I encourage each of you to just try this out. I want you to take an opportunity, take a couple deep breaths, and sit undistracted. Don't sit in front of your computer or your TV or your phone or your tablet or being distracted by anything. Just enjoy the process of eating. You have to tap into that parasympathetic, the rest and repose side of our brains. So important. That's the first thing to do. You know, in the United States, we have something called the standard American diet. It's not something I'm proud of to say. Highly processed foods. There are lots of chemicals in those foods that our bodies don't know what to do with. I want you to think about the quality of food that you're putting in your body. And by that I mean less processed food, more highly pigmented fruits and vegetables. Yes, more color on your plate is good. I want you to think about the quality of protein, the best that your budget will actually allow you to enjoy. Ideally pastured or organic meat, wild-caught fish. And when you're thinking about fats, and fats are so important, and you want to talk about guilt, of many, many years of telling my patients, I want you to have low-fat, non-fat garbage. You want the real thing. We don't want canola oil. We don't want soybean oil. We don't want cottonseed oil. They're highly processed, oftentimes rancid before they get to the grocery store, and very inflammatory. Not good for us, ladies. Inflammation equals weight gain. We don't want that. So think about things like grass-fed butter and ghee and nuts and seeds. Avocado and coconut oil are all great for your body. Our brains like healthy fats. Our bodies like healthy fats. That's how we build healthy hormones. That's how we cushion our joints. That's how we stay satiated when we eat a meal. Here's a caveat. Carbohydrates are not all bad, but quality and quantity when you are making this transition are super important. Super, super important. That is the slip up that everyone makes a mistake with. So quality of carbohydrates and quantity. So quality means green leafy vegetables, lots of low glycemic berries, not cakes and cookies and pies and pasta and bread. And yes, they're delicious, but that should not be the basis of our diet. That gets us into trouble. I want you to think about the fact that when you consume too many of those kinds of carbohydrates, they spike your blood sugar, they spike your insulin, they lead to insulin resistance if you consume them too frequently, too often. And we already are dealing with blood sugar problems when we get towards menopause. It is a given. We don't maintain our blood sugar as well. So good quality carbohydrates, less of them. We don't need a lot of carbs. We need some, but not a lot. I want you to think about my absolute favorite tactic that I'm going to lump into nutrition is intermittent fasting. Anyone ever heard of it? It is a deal breaker. It is the magic bullet. It is why I can say at 47, I feel like I am 20 years younger than I am. It is really simple. There's no really wrong way to do it. You eat less food because you shorten your feeding window. Some people do a 16-hour fast a day. Some people do 18 hours. I promise you, you can survive without eating breakfast. There are, of course, people who shouldn't do this, but that's a whole other topic. Intermittent fasting is the magic bullet. Think about it. It is a total deal breaker. Next, there are specific supplements that are really fantastic, even if you haven't gone into perimenopause yet, are really great for balancing hormones. Easy things that you can integrate into your diet on a daily basis. First is something called maca. Ever heard of it? Maca is actually a tuber, it grows in the ground. It's called Peruvian ginseng. It is absolutely amazing, helps balance hormones. It is great for energy. It's great for PMS. It's great for hot flashes, and it's great for libido. So when I have women who are really struggling with this, I credit it for one of those things that helps give me energy that I can use every single day. It's a naturally occurring substance. Next are adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha, rhodiola rosea. Those are the two best researched and studied. They are helpful for energy. They are helpful for reducing anxiety. They are helpful for, balancing cortisol, which is one of those stress hormones. And they are naturally occurring, things that you can consume in your diet. And I think the thing to mention is every single thing I'm talking about is stuff that I'm doing and that women are doing successfully and easily. Sleep. Oh God, I didn't appreciate sleep enough until I didn't have good quality sleep for a while. Sleep is foundational to our health. I cannot overemphasize how important it is to sleep well and to prioritize it. You do not get a badge of honor if you get 3 or 4 hours of sleep and brag about it all the time. It is not a badge of honor. It is detrimental to your health, destructive, and not good to do. So, what am I going to recommend? 7-8 hours a night of sleep every single night. It has to be a priority. Cold, dark room. I want you to turn off your electronics. I know. 60-90 minutes before you go to bed. Why? There is blue light that comes out, junk light comes out of that electronic, your phone, your iPad, your tablet, your computer, that disrupts secretion of a hormone in your brain called melatonin. And if that's off, you are not going to go to bed. How many people get wired and tired when they're up on their computers late at night? Happens to me. Here's the one thing, if you have to be on your computer because you're working, I'm a realist, you can wear blue blocking glasses. 2 really great brands, Swannies and Uvex. different price points, work really effectively, but it blunts the blue light that's coming from the electronics that can be so troublesome with sleep. If you want to get even a little more crazy, turn off your Wi-Fi at night. I know everyone gasps, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Turn off your Wi-Fi. We know it dysregulates cortisol in the body. Cortisol is one of those hormones tapped into the adrenal glands. You can absolutely do it. Here's another caveat. Not enough sleep, what are you going to crave? You're not going to crave vegetables. You're going to crave junk. You're going to crave carbs, and not the good kind of carbs. So sleep so that you keep those cravings at bay. The other thing I want you to consider is that if you don't get enough sleep, good quality sleep, deep sleep, you will have a 40% reduction in being able to balance your blood sugar. Why does that matter? Remember we talked about blood sugar is not well controlled. You end up dealing with insulin issues. You can be insulin resistant. You can have diabetes, which is diabetes and obesity. They typically go together. More inflammation, more adrenal stress. You gotta get the sleep. Gotta get the sleep, has to be a priority. And frankly, what starts to happen is those of us that are middle-aged, I'm gonna own it on stage, I'm middle-aged. Those of us that are middle-aged need more sleep or as much sleep as our teenagers. So I have a tween and a teen. I sleep probably as much, if not more than they do. And my body needs it, and I'm gonna embrace it. Stress management. I know one of the earlier talks, we were talking about tapping into this parasympathetic rest and repose, relaxation mode in our bodies. This is one of the hardest things that I found I had to start prioritizing. I can do a CrossFit class and I can do all sorts of crazy things and go, but what I really struggled with was slowing down. So restorative yoga, Tai Chi, Pilates, bar, more of that and less crazy things that are spiking your cortisol and getting you going. The mindfulness actions of meditation, super, super important. We know that mindfulness meditation actually changes the structure of our brains. It's called neuroplasticity. I love this big nerdy word. Neuroplasticity. We want more of that in our lives. You want to cultivate this side of your brain and your body. This is super important to be prioritizing. You also want to think about gentle movement. I touched on a few of those things, but even putting your feet on this time of year, probably not doing it in Toronto, but getting your feet in the grass when the weather's a little warmer, grounding work, getting outside and just walking, very, very important. And last but not least, just being grateful. You don't have to write, sometimes I hear people talk about gratitude journaling. That's great. I don't have the mindset to do that per se. Write down 2 things you're grateful for every day. We all have time for that. These are practices that we can all make time for that are so important for nurturing our brains and our hormones and our bodies. So, getting back to the original intent of talking about the showing up. So coming full circle, recognizing that we have to invest in ourselves. We as women do a really great job of taking care of everyone else. We do such a good job with that. We don't do such a great job taking care of us as individuals. So, when you're sitting with your BFF and she starts to talk about how she's dreading these years of menopause, the night sweats, the hot flashes, all of these things that sound so detrimental, I want you to be able to reflect back on this talk, and whether or not it's your best friend or it's your mom or it's some other loved one or person in your life, that you can think there are things you can be doing right now that are very proactive, that can ensure that you go from not just surviving, but to thriving. Because I think when you reflect on the fact that most women will spend 40% of their lives after menopause, don't we want it to be the best that it can actually be? Thank you.
感谢收看。如果你喜欢这部影片，请按赞、订阅、加分享，并开启小铃铛。新频道成立，需要您的大力支持与鼓励。任何看法、建议，欢迎在下方留言。如有想要添加中文字幕的功能医学相关影片，都可以留下连结给我。再次感谢，我们下次见。